Alright, y'all, we're back and we have another episode of the 3 for 30 series on the docket for today. And today's team that we are going to be talking about is the San Antonio Spurs. Now, if you're new to this series, it's basically an opportunity for me to give my thoughts on each and every NBA team as we head into the upcoming offseason. The Spurs are most notably in the news recently for having lost their 22 years of consecutive playoff appearances. This past season they came up a bit short and they had some great games in the bubble, but ultimately just came a few wins away from making it back into the playoffs. A lot of this is due to the fact that Tim Duncan has been gone from the team for a while now. I mean, he's on the bench as an assistant coach, but it's been a turning of the tides for the players, and there might be more of that turning coming in the coaching staff as well in the upcoming season or next off season as well. When it comes to potential players who might be leaving San Antonio soon, a big name that's been in the very recent news is DeMar DeRozan, who is first on the board for today. And like I said, there was a report that just came out a few days ago saying that an unnamed agent claimed that DeRozan is unhappy in San Antonio and may potentially either look to try and force a trade or simply just opt out of his $27 million player option that he has for the upcoming season. I believe that there is some truth to both sides, as DeRozan has also posted on Instagram that these rumors are false and that it is just simply not true, that he is happy in San Antonio. And like I said, I want to believe both sides in this situation. While DeMar DeRozan definitely is not happy in San Antonio, or at least in my opinion is not happy in San Antonio, I do believe that although he is probably hoping to play somewhere else, I think he's going to stay on his contract and finish out this last year with San Antonio and ultimately enter free agency in 2021. The reasoning behind all that being that the fact that DeRozan is having to ask for a trade probably means that he's not going to get a lot of value back, just for the simple fact that when a team knows that a player wants out of a certain team, they're not going to send their highest offers. They're going to send a lot of lowball offers, and the Spurs have probably learned from past superstar trades, aka Kawhi Leonard, that when you're trading away a star, superstar, all-star talent level player, you want to be able to get a good fortune of picks and young talent back. And I just don't think they're going to be able to do that with DeMar DeRozan. So in that case, I don't think he's going to be getting traded anytime soon. And then when it comes to the player option and him potentially declining it and heading into free agency in this offseason rather than next year's 2021 offseason, for that case, we just had the pandemic. The NBA revenue and salary cap are still in question. I don't think DeMar DeRozan would see a deal anywhere near the $27 million that he would get by simply staying put in San Antonio. So while it may be true that DeMar DeRozan is unhappy playing in Texas, I don't think there's going to be anything that can be done to fix that. And ultimately, I think we're going to see him give it one last shot and probably moving on after this upcoming season. And when it does come to potential teams that DeMar DeRozan may head towards, I know there's been a lot of rumors lately that he might go back north to Toronto to maybe team up with Kyle Lowry again, or he might reunite with old head coach Dwayne Casey out in Detroit. Now, the issue with just a lot of these places is that DeMar DeRozan has a very set and not very modern style of play. He doesn't shoot a lot of threes, he takes a lot of twos, and he's a scorer, so he's an all-star level scorer. He's made multiple all-star games in the past, so he's a great scoring talent, but he just doesn't necessarily fit a lot of today's offenses, meaning that you can make the argument that he would be a good fit on a lot of teams, but you can also make the argument that he'd be a bad fit on a lot of teams. I just recently listened to the Old Man and the Three podcast with JJ Redick and Tommy Alter. They had DeMar DeRozan on as a guest in the show. I'll link it down below if you guys want to give it a listen, which I highly recommend. DeRozan, there's one portion of the podcast where DeRozan goes in depth into his play style and how it correlates with today's NBA, and he gives his side of the argument about why he has played the way he has, and he also explained that he's tried to prove in past seasons that he can shoot threes, and he did so successfully, and now he's just back to his old mid-range game. Again, I'd recommend giving it a listen, and again, it'll be in the comments, or sorry, not in the comments, in the description down below. And then moving on to the next player who might potentially be on the move either this offseason or the upcoming offseason next year is LaMarcus Aldridge. Now, the longtime Portland Trailblazer and since San Antonio Spur has kind of found himself a second home in San Antonio. He's tried to translate his game to the modern NBA, much like DeMar DeRozan has done in the past. We saw LMA shoot his best three-point percentage of his career in this past season, so you can see that he is making strides to accommodating to the pace and space game that is today's NBA. But on the negative sides, LaMarcus Aldridge is a big, he's not very athletic, he's not very defensively minded or defensively gifted at this point in his career, and he's also has a hefty deal, or he has $24 million on his contract for this last season before becoming an unrestricted free agent for the 2021 free agency class. Now, in my opinion, I think that if you look back at the bubble Spurs who just most recently played, maybe there's some recency bias in here, but I thought that they looked like a much better team when LaMarcus Aldridge was not on the floor and out with injury. If you don't remember, LMA never even came to the bubble because of injury, and so we didn't see a second of him during the bubble. In that time, though, I thought that the Spurs being able to play through some of their younger talents that they've stockpiled on their team, and having DeMar DeRozan as a closer, along with starting Jakob Poeltl, who they got in the Kawhi Leonard trade, and then they had Drew Eubanks, who was a two-way player who came off the bench for them at big. I thought those two, Poeltl and Eubanks, did a great job at holding down the center position. Obviously, LaMarcus Aldridge is a better player than both of them, but if they could maybe explore, I know there were some trade rumors surrounding LMA back in February, but much like DeRozan, I don't think there's going to be a lot of teams who see LMA as a valuable piece in a trade. So unfortunately, the Spurs might not be getting back a whole lot for him. With that being said, I did come up with one potential trade idea. I don't want to really say that this is a lock set in stone trade that should happen. I don't by any means believe that either of these teams would accept this trade if it were offered, but I'm using this basically solely just for explanation purposes. I devised a trade with the Charlotte Hornets where the Spurs give up LaMarcus Aldridge and a future pick in turn to get Cody Zeller and just whatever else they want from the Hornets. Now, why this kind of trade would work for the Spurs, they could get rid of Aldridge's big salary in this offseason, take on either another center or just some sort of talent that they could work with. But what this does for the Spurs, more importantly, it frees up some cap space in case they want to sign back some of their other players or look for a bigger signing in this free agency. And it also gets rid of LaMarcus Aldridge for them. They get back a bench big in this case in Cody Zeller, while also having to give up a pick this year, which I included in the trade, just because this draft class doesn't have any star potential. Therefore, the Spurs probably won't see it necessary to have a pick if it means that they could improve on their team for next season. The Hornets in this case would be taking on the salary of LaMarcus Aldridge, which isn't a pretty one, but it's only for this upcoming season. They also get a draft pick along with them, and the Hornets and GM Mitch Kupchak, which I talked about in an earlier video with the Charlotte Hornets 3 for 30, which you definitely should go check out. But I digress. The Hornets did state that they would be willing to take on a salary dump if it meant that they could stockpile picks. So I just wanted to use them as an example for a potential trade idea that the Spurs could use this offseason in order to dump LaMarcus Aldridge and maybe look towards progressing their young talent, or just looking other ways into signing another all-star type player that they could pair with DeRozan and maybe try to make one more run at the playoffs and perhaps maybe a title, even though I doubt they'll make it too far. All in all, though, do I think the Spurs eventually make a trade or any sort of move with LaMarcus Aldridge this offseason? And to that, I will say definitely not. If you look back at the Spurs track history, there aren't any big moves that they make in the offseason. The only one that you can really think of is Kawhi Leonard, which some people are quick to say that the Spurs got gypped out of and didn't get enough out of, and that's a topic for a whole nother video. But as I said, the Spurs have a track record of not making any big moves. I can barely even think of one big offseason move that they made for like the entirety of the Tim Duncan era. They never, or I shouldn't say never, but they barely ever trade their draft picks, and all because of those factors, I really don't see them moving LMA. I think this is just a good idea that could help propel them to a better season next season. And the last point on the board is the end of an era, unfortunately. Despite all that I've talked about and the potential moves that the Spurs could be making in this offseason with their two star players, DeRozan and Aldridge, the time has come that it's officially the end of the Spurs' reign over the NBA. They've had a tremendous record of going to playoffs season after season, like I mentioned and everyone talked about at the time of the playoffs this past year. The Spurs missed it for the first time in 22 years. I don't really see them getting back anytime soon, other than maybe this upcoming season. But once DeRozan and Aldridge are both gone from the team, it's going to be time to focus on the younger talent. And then going along with that, it's already been rumored that Coach Popovich may be on his way out. It's not even for sure that he will be coming back for this next season, even though he will be on year 2 of a recently signed 3-year extension. Either way, though, he has committed to coaching Team USA, which will be set to play and resume after this upcoming NBA season, or at some point during the season. We're still not really too sure yet about that. But either way, Popovich, this might be his last year, it might not be, but I see at most 2 more years with him. So at that point, he's probably going to handpick his next head coach for the Spurs. This could be, hopefully in my opinion, Becky Hammon, but that's, again, a topic for a new video. What I'm trying to get at is this will be a definite turning of the tides, end of an era, as I've already stated on the board. But the Spurs do have somewhat of a bright future to look forward to. We all saw Derek White take a much bigger role in the bubble without LaMarcus Aldridge getting a lot of touches. Derek White saw his numbers increase very well in the bubble. He was averaging 18 points a game, and he was paired up with guys like DeJounte Murray, who's been all defense prior in his career. He had the knee injury that cost him a season, but he's back. He's on a big deal and will be with the Spurs for a while. They have 2 young guys in Lonnie Walker and Keldon Johnson, who have both shown a ton of promise and look to be solid role players at worst in the coming years. So there's a whole hodgepodge of young guys that the Spurs have to rely on and be hopeful for the future. Even if this next season isn't quite the best one for Spurs fans, there's definitely a lot to be looking forward to in the future. And that will do it for this video. Another 3 for 30 in the books. We are approaching the halfway point. It's been a total drag, but I hope you guys are enjoying each and every one of these. And as always, comment down below on what you think I got right, what you think I got wrong. Other than that, like the video, subscribe if you are new and enjoyed the video, check out some of my other content, and most importantly, thank you for watching.